The US has activated what some analysts are calling the nuclear option in its trade war against China. President Donald Trump has declared a national emergency, placing Chinese tech giant Huawei on the list of entities considered national security threats.
Foreign adversaries are increasingly creating and exploiting vulnerabilities in information and communications technology and services to commit malicious cyber-enabled actions, including economic and industrial espionage against the United States and its people.
The order requires US firms to seek government approval for any dealings with Huawei. It's a move usually reserved for companies with suspected ties to terrorism and the production of weapons of mass destruction. Washington has accused China of using Huawei gear to spy on other countries, but it hasn't offered up any evidence.
We urge the U.S. to stop its incorrect actions and create conditions for the companies of the two countries to carry out normal trade and cooperation to avoid doing additional harm to China-U.S. economic and trade relations.
Huawei has denied the U.S. allegations and shrugged off the order's possible effect on its business.
Our business in the United States is not that big. Due to our global operations, any change in one country has little impact on our global business.
But analysts say Huawei relies on plenty of technology licensed from American firms. It's also involved in the development of networks in major US allies like the UK and Germany, which means Washington's targeted strike at Huawei could have a global fallout. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
And for more on this, Daniel Ryntjes joins me now from Washington, D.C. Hi, Daniel. This is another significant blow to US-China relations. Tell us a bit more about how the Trump administration has justified this latest move to further restrict Huawei's business in the US.
Well, the narrative over the last few years, which included the Obama administration, that was concern about Huawei and ZTE using their telecoms equipment to find backdoors in order to hack into US commercial and government operations. I think the important point about this is that the US has the ability now, or will do once the rule-making process goes into effect, for any telecoms companies, foreign adversaries they deem a threat, to restrict the ability of US suppliers. So that means that crucial semiconductors from the United States could be restricted. Of course, the Trump administration could then provide specific licenses to any firms, including Huawei, if it deemed that necessary and if it met national security concerns. So in other words, the Trump administration for now would have considerable leverage over the future of Huawei's operations.
And how has Huawei reacted to this latest move to restrict its business in the US?
Well, they've released a statement saying, "We are ready and willing to engage with the US government and come up with effective measures to ensure product security." At the same time, they are making an appeal to the United States, saying that if they go ahead with this kind of strategy, then it could really hamper America's ability to roll out 5G, because most people think that Huawei's 5G technology is well above that of its competitors.
And the Trump administration, as we know, has long maintained that Huawei poses a national security threat to the US. Is there any basis for its concerns at all?
Well, Reuters conducted an extensive investigation into Huawei's ability to conduct transactions with the Iranians to flout sanctions. And indeed, the US Justice Department has an ongoing case related to that, in which they've actually detained the chief financial officer of Huawei, who's also the daughter of the founder, Meng Wanzhou, in Canada, pending extradition to the United States. But when it comes to espionage and exploiting backdoors to technology, I think the US prefers to keep that information on an intelligence basis. So it's unclear. We are not able to make our own independent assessment of that.
Okay, and we know the Trump administration has taken its campaign against Huawei global, urging its allies to restrict or even ban using the Chinese telecoms from its own infrastructures. How have those countries responded to that call?
Well, it varies really, but the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, has been doing a world tour, really, going around countries and warning them not to get involved in having Huawei technology. But some countries have already really committed to providing a ongoing business relationship with Huawei. So they have a tricky situation where they're having to balance up the equities between their relationship with the United States and their relationship with China, particularly their commercial relationship. Indeed, the UK is in that sticky position at the moment, and it's led to the resignation of one cabinet minister. So this is a very tricky situation at the moment, and it's putting some of US allies in a very uncomfortable position because the US is essentially forcing them to choose between having Huawei and continuing to have good relations, particularly on the intelligence and military sides.
Okay, Daniel Ryntjes in Washington, thanks so much for that update.